So far we have the data coming from this input, and yeah, so we have 4 different data points: effective, text, user, and meeting, and it will be transformed to a new object and we will be outputted. And as after the outputting, we pass it along to the dialog, and the dialog will print it out. So what we need to do is bring the data in the shape we actually need for our transformation. So by doing that, we can actually use the REPL inside of your browser. So for example, let's just switch tabs because it's not working in this screen. Let's just switch tabs and go to, for example, the Appgyver landing page. If you press right click on the page somewhere and then go on inspect, you will see that a little developer bar will show up, and you have different tabs. Usually it starts with the elements tab, where you can see the HTML text and how it corresponds with the images rendered. Yeah, if we switch to the console, then you get a little REPL. So this is a JavaScript environment, and you can put some code in and it will print you code out. For example, we can declare a variable x and give it a number. Then we say give me x. X is 123. We can ask to increment x by 1 or by 10 or by 100. So now let's replicate the state what we have in the JavaScript flow function. We're getting something in this case a meeting object, and we want to output a meeting object. And our meeting object looks like this. Let's say var meeting is equal to some kind of object. So if I ask them for meeting, we will be returned an empty object. But meeting is, well, it has a name. It has a location, and so on. But the most interesting part is it has a feedback array. Let's put an empty array. Okay, so if we go on meeting and we ask them for the feedback, this empty array will be returned. But what we want to do is we want to put some data inside this array. And we can do this by using the push function. For example, I'm pushing the number 1 inside this array. Let's check how meeting looks like. You will see that it has in this case 3 properties, and the feedback property, there is a 1 inside. Okay, if we clear the console, it will just clear the display, not the state the REPL is in. Okay. Let's put another value. Hello. Let's ask them for the meeting, and you will see that in meeting, in this object, now there is in the feedback array 2 different elements. 1 and hello. This indicates the index, and we start counting an array with index 0. So we do not want to put numbers or strings inside this array. We want to put a new object. This object, user, effective, and text. Okay, let's clear the array. Like this. And now let's push in that array the name. I'm sorry, it's not the name. What was the user? Yeah, the user, for example, this user, effective 1, and a text this meeting was good. Okay, let's take a look at meeting. What we have now is we have this object pushed into that array. You can see that by well, the square brackets indicating an array, and inside the square brackets, so it's an array, so you can open it. You will see that the first element with the index 0 is an object. And that's exactly what we need. So we just need to execute this code, meeting.feedback.push. Okay, if we just take this over, and in this case, because meeting is nested inside inputs, we have to write inputs dot meeting dot feedback dot push. The semicolon means that this is the end of the line, and now let's put the object inside. You can either choose to put the key values as a string, or in JavaScript just to put in without a string. So the user should be equal to whatever user ID we get from here, and that's inputs dot meeting dot user. Okay, let's format it a bit like this. So the second one is effective, and we get this value from effective from outside. So again, inputs effective, and the last one is text. Great. Now we changed the value what's stored inside meeting, and the only thing what we need to do is to return meeting. So we can delete that and go to inputs dot meeting. That's it. We do not put a semicolon on this line. That's because it's still nested inside an object. But what we can do is putting a semicolon at the end of the object. Okay, let's update that. And let's also remove this one. Maybe we just leave the toast dialog. Let's put the yeah. Let's print out what we're getting from meeting. All right. Let's try this. There we are. Maybe let's put some more time. So the meeting object looks like this. It has an ID, a name, an owner, and the feedback contains one feedback, which gives the effective of 1, the text, well, and the user is missing. Let's take a look. Right, here's the mistake. The user is not inside meeting, it's inside inputs user. So we have to remove this one. It's a good thing to always double check that. Okay. Yeah, that looks right. Great. So what we can do now is to post it to our new, to post our new data. To do that, we have different methods. I think the easiest one should be to just use a data variable. Let's create a new one. Let's call it meeting 1 updated. It's a new variable. Let's save it. Okay. And now we just pull it out from the data group, create new records, connect it. So it goes into meetings. And let's read it from, yeah. I think this, yeah, we named the JavaScript function like that. Okay. Great. So let's try it. +1. Very good meeting. Okay. We can't see now any feedback at that point. But what we can do is just use Postman to check on our data. Let's do a GET request. And we have the ID with 42 in the end. Well, that looks wrong. That's right. There is a mistake. We do not want to create a new one. What we want to is actually to update a existing meeting. So let's remove the record here and pull the update. And the update will send a put request. It goes to meetings and we take the data from our JavaScript function, and the ID should be the same ID what we are getting from the page parameter. Yes. Okay. So we have two different meetings with the same content. Let's go with this one. Okay. Now we see that the feedback has two entries, two elements in the array. So if we open the Postman again and do a GET request, we see that in this case we have two different entries. If we go back to the meeting, and each one of those has a 1, so the sum should be 2, like here. Okay, but one problem arises. One person should not be able to give two feedbacks. So what we want to do is to just not show this box once we had already gave our feedback. Okay. So we can do this by going to this page again. And we need to change in the advanced properties, the visible property. And this should, well, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's false, depending on have we already gave our feedback yet. And to demonstrate that, let's just pull a button inside and write a function for this. Yeah, maybe we don't need to write a whole function. Maybe it's enough for us to just write it directly in the toast dialog. So the toast dialog, in this case we are using the formula. So what do we want? We want to go into the feedback array and check if our ID is within the user property. And to do that, we can use the array function. And check if we have appropriated method here. So what we could use is something like find index of I don't think index of is an array. True and false. Is an array by key. Now we have something like that, an array and different objects inside this array, and it asks us is, what do we want? We want an array, a key and a value, and it checks if in this array 1, does one of those keys has the value 2. Yeah, looks right. So let's do it for our case. In the data variable, we have the meeting 1 feedback. Oh, we can remove the updated one. Yeah. In the data meeting 1, there is an array called feedback, and we are looking for our key user. And the value of this user should be the same as our user ID. And our user ID is saved in the app variable. There we are. Okay, great. So we know we have commented on the second meeting 1. Let's put a, oh, there we are. So because, well, it's not totally clear that this one is printing out the desired effect. So to make it definitely clear, we can put an if in front of this whole statement. If this expression is true, comma, then say already gave feedback, or comma, no feedback yet. Okay, let's try it again. Already gave feedback. And if we go to an element where we have not given feedback yet, for example this one, no feedback yet. And we can test this by giving feedback, for example -1. Okay, let's reload it again. We have -1 here. And if we press now on the button, it tells us that we already gave feedback. Okay, so we can use this switch to toggle the box on and off. So let's just copy the code, and we actually just need the code inside the first parameter, like this. Control C. Let's go to feedback box, open the advanced properties, toggle the formula on, just paste it inside. Okay, it says invalid unexpected comma. Yes, it has not copied everything what we wanted to. Maybe I have not copied it. Okay, we can fix that by hand. Is an array by key. Okay, is an array by key with the data feedback. We check for user and we check for the user ID. All right, let's save it. Okay, let's open this one. Is visible, true. Yeah, it's inverted. this one is false. So what we need to do, we need to invert the whole statement. So if it's true, it should actually be false and vice versa. So we just can invert it by placing a not in front of it. Do not forget to enclose it always with brackets. Now we have inverted the logic. Open this one disappears. Yeah, so it looks like we have this little flicker. And I think the reason for it is once we click on this box and a new page is loaded, the page is loaded first and then the data is being fetched from the database. And then it's been fetched, then it's been evaluated, and then we know, aha, we should not show this property. So maybe we can try it by checking if the data meetings, if data.meetings1 does not exist, we know that the data has not been fetched yet. And if it's not been fetched yet, we do not want to show it. Okay. Maybe let's check for the utility function. Do we have an AND here? Maybe. Does this work? Yes. So an AND means that both statements must be true. So if this is true and the right side is true, then we will evaluate the whole expression as true. What we want to do is evaluate this one and make sure that data.meeting exists. Let's put this one first. Data.meetings should exist. Well, okay. We cannot evaluate the object, so we should convert the existence of this object to true or false. And we can do it by using the utility function. Let's see, is empty, is null, is nully. Boolean. Okay, Boolean says basically if it's there, it's true. And if data.meetings is there, it's true. And now our condition looks like this. If data and meetings exist and the user is not already in this array feedback, then go and show the box. Okay, this one has not solved our problem. It might be that the flicker is having a different source. Okay. Let's put feedback. Okay, it looks like because we specified the data in a data variable, it will be automatically being assigned an empty object, and an empty object will evaluate the true in this with this Boolean function. Well, that's the best guess I have. So by asking not only for the existence of meeting 1, but also for meeting 1.feedback, we make sure that only the data which has been fetched will be evaluated, not the initialized default data which might exist before actually making an HTTP request. But this one solved our problem. Yes, that looks good. Alright, let's remove the button here and save the application.